one is to come.
Okay, so what is it that we do when life hurts that is beyond helpful? What is it that Isaiah offers us here? And my servant. The servant is Jesus, actually. This passage is about Jesus. There's another thing to get your head around. This was written 700 years before Jesus came, and the instruction is to look at Jesus. Look at Jesus. The word look there, some translations say behold, or take a good look. It's not kind of glance, it's look with intent. Focus on. I don't know if you've had that experience of somebody comes to show you, maybe your child comes to show you a picture or show you something done, and you have a quick look and say, oh, that's lovely. And they say, Mommy or Daddy, you're not looking. And you've kind of looked at it, but you've glanced at it. And what they want is you to focus on it, to really take it in, to kind of absorb it with your whole being. And that's that sense of what Isaiah's saying here, of what God is saying through Isaiah. What do you do when life hurts? You do this, you look. You behold Jesus, you take it all in. And you might be thinking, well, how's that going to help? Particularly if you're not a church person or a faith person. How's that going to help? Looking at Jesus. And what he's going to do is tell us what we're going to see when we look at Jesus. But it's really just based on a principle that you already know about, a principle that you already know that works. And its principle is this, that what you look at today shapes your life tomorrow. What you look at today is what your life will be like tomorrow. You're already aware of that principle, that if you want tomorrow to be very dissatisfied with your body, with how you look and your shape, that what you do today can bring that about. You suggest that actually what you do on your social media, maybe Instagram, you just start following people who are much younger than you, much prettier, much stronger than you. Or you look on sites and magazines of celebrities who are younger, are more beautiful, more butch, more stronger, whatever it is, and look at those people. And I guarantee by tomorrow you'll be very unhappy with how you look, about your face and your body and your figure, because what you look at today shapes your life tomorrow. Or maybe go on some interior design sites. If you want to be very unhappy with your home, if you want to think my home's a mess and my home's not very good, then look at some interior design sites, or look at some of the houses of celebrities and have a look at how fantastic that is. Look at those, behold those, focus on those. And hey, tomorrow you'll be very unhappy with a house that you live in. Maybe you're thinking, really, Derek, what I want is a bit more fear and anxiety in my life. I want to feel really worried and insecure about the future. Well, if that's how you want to be tomorrow, then what should you look at today? I would suggest that you look at the news 3 times more often than you currently do. Focus on it. Behold on every interpretation, every prediction, every possibility. Behold those countries that are doing worse than us. Have a focus on it. Get the stories of different people and the effect that it's all having on their life. And behold that, look at that. And then tomorrow you'll have more fear and more anxiety in your life. You know that principle. What you look at today shapes your life for tomorrow. And so Isaiah suggests that actually this is what you should do. You should look, you should behold, you should focus on Jesus. And why should we do that? Because of the person that he is and the effect that he can have on our lives. Look at what it says in those verses. I've got them here. It says, look at him, look at Jesus. He will not shout or cry out or raise his voice in the street. Look at him. He's not going to shout. He's not going to cry out in public. What he's saying really is this Jesus is gentle. He's not drawing attention to himself. He's not shouting and cry out. Actually, if you know the story of Jesus and you've read some of the stories of Jesus, you know sometimes he does cry out. Sometimes he does shout. And he shouts to people who abuse their power, to people who take advantage of other people, to people who are on the upper levels of society and use that to downtrodden on other people, who don't use their power and their wealth and their abilities to help other people. To those people, Jesus does shout. He does speak very strongly. You see that in the stories of Jesus. But actually, this passage is addressed to the lost and to the bewildered, to those in pain, to those who are struggling. And to those people, it says, actually, Jesus, he doesn't shout. He's not crying out. He's not making a scene. Actually, he's really gentle, is what it's saying. Look at Jesus. He's really gentle. And what it does is we get two images here just to kind of convey a sense of Jesus and what sort of person he is. And I think that if you look at Jesus and you see what it says about him from these images, that's going to shape your tomorrow in amazing and wonderful ways. Look at what it says. The first thing he says, a bruised reed. This is in verse 3. A bruised reed he will not break. It says, imagine a bruised reed. So you take a branch or a stick or something and it's bruised, which means it's broken. You imagine it's kind of snapped, but it's not quite finished. It's very vulnerable. A bird couldn't land on it, and maybe an animal walking through the undergrowth is just going to break it, or a strong wind. It's not quite finished, but it's nearly there. And it's a bruised reed. The word bruised there, it means something that's had a death blow, a major injury. It may not look like it, but actually it's pretty much finished. Let me just tell you what that word means, bruised. It says it's a minor injury. It's not a minor injury, it's a deep injury that destroys a vital organ, i.e. it's a death blow. And as Jesus is saying, it's saying like you've got this branch, this reed that is broken, it's had a death blow. And one of the things that happens when you're broken is actually that it's finished, that it's ruined. Once a branch is snapped, once it's broken, actually it's only a matter of time before it finishes, before it dies. That actually the life is not able to flow through the branches. It can't be producing fruit anymore. It can't be productive anymore. It's actually ruined. And one of the questions that people ask inside, and if life is hurting for you right now, you will be asking this question, which is this: is this permanent? Am I permanently broken? Am I permanently damaged? Is it actually all over, my future? Is it permanent? Am I always going to be unproductive? And what it says in the barn passage is it says, a bruised reed he will not break. And the word there, he will not break, it means a permanent break. So let's just read that for a minute. A bruised reed, this Jesus, this gentle Jesus, who's not shouting and making a public scene, a bruised reed he will not allow to be permanently broken. This reed that is full vulnerable, this reed that could just get broken and finished at any time, this reed that's just thinking, actually, is it ruined? Is this a permanent break? It says, actually, Jesus will not allow that to happen. Now, the truth and the reality is that sometimes we need bruising. Sometimes we need to be broken. Sometimes we need that to realise that actually we are reeds, we're not oaks. We're not big, strong trees, we're vulnerable reeds. And sometimes Jesus allows a bit of breaking for us to realise that and get that revelation. And I think that's something that's happening to us just now. It's happening to our country. It's happening to our reliance on ourselves and what we believe about how strong and powerful we are. That there's something that is threatening us, and it's revealing to us that actually, we're reeds, we're not oaks. But the promise is here is even when we get broken, because that's what needs to happen, Jesus is not going to allow it to be a permanent break. He's not going to allow it to be a fatal blow. He will not allow that. And if it's not going to be a fatal blow, what that means is that for those of us who are broken, who are in a situation where life hurts, that Jesus is actually going to allow healing, and he's going to allow strengthening, and he's going to allow restoration. And therefore Isaiah is saying, look at Jesus, look how gentle he is with you. Don't fear that the break is going to be permanent. Don't fear that this is it and this is the end. Actually, look at Jesus. He's not going to allow that. And one of the reasons it's really important to look at how gentle Jesus is with us is precisely because we are often not gentle with ourselves. Sometimes we need to look at Jesus and see how gentle he is with us because we're not gentle with ourselves. These are really strange times. And it's a bit ironic, isn't it, when you think about it, that if you work and you do a lot of traveling, commuting, you've probably thought sometime, oh, I wish I could work from home. And hey, you can work from home. You know, what parent, what mother or father hasn't said, you know what, I wish I could have more time with my kids. Hey, you've got more time with your kids. Who hasn't thought, you know, I could do with a bit of time to get some things done around the house or in the garden. Hey, you've got plenty of time for the garden and for the house. Who's a frontline worker, maybe working in a charity or the NHS, went into it because you wanted to make a difference, you wanted to really help people. Hey, there's a lot of people who need helping now. And the irony, isn't it, that those things that we wanted were kind of there now, but actually it can be overwhelming and it can be struggling. And then what we can sometimes do is put incredible pressure on ourselves and say, well, you should be a better parent, or I should be more productive at work. I should be getting all those jobs done. You know, I don't need to commute to work now. I should be doing my devotions in the morning and praying, and I should be doing all those things. And maybe like me, you failed a little bit at some of that. You haven't quite lived the life that you'd long to live. And we can be so not gentle with ourselves. We can be so rough with ourselves, the way we speak to ourselves and what we expect. And I think one of the benefits of looking at Jesus, look at Jesus. He's not going to shout. He's gentle. And those reeds that are bruised, that have had a fatal blow, actually Jesus is not going to let that be permanent because he's so gentle. And sometimes one of the reasons for looking at Jesus is to see that he's so gentle because we are not. And to think, actually, maybe I should be more like Jesus to myself in this season. These are tremendously difficult times, whatever your life circumstances. It's a lot to process and a lot emotionally to get your head round. And maybe some of us just need to be a bit more gentle with ourselves. Look at Jesus. See how gentle he is with you. And maybe you need to be more like that with you yourself. And so we're invited to look at Jesus because what we look at today shapes what we are tomorrow. And we want to be people of gentleness and peace and love. So looking at Jesus will help us to be that. But in this passage, there's this second image that's given. It says, a smouldering wick he will not snuff out. A really powerful image. And you probably realise that in those days they didn't have electricity, and so for light they would have maybe bowls, open bowls of oil, and they'd have a wick in it that they would light. And once the oil in the wick was starting to run out, a bit like candles do for us today, when it was right at the end, it would start to smoulder, all right, and it would start to smoke. And when that happens, basically the end is nigh. It's nearly finished. And when it's finished, it's going to get thrown away. And look what it says here about Jesus. Look at Jesus. Why? Because a smouldering wick he will not snuff out. People who reach the end, it feels like it's all over. The light is going out. It said actually Jesus is not going to snuff that out. Even though that's what should happen and it's come to the end and you throw it away. It says Jesus is so gentle, he's not going to snuff it out. And sometimes you can feel like that, can you not? That you feel like you're at the end. You feel like the light's gone out. Maybe it's the energy. Maybe it's your faith. You just feel like you can't go on. It just feels like it's all falling apart. It's all gone. And it says, look at Jesus. Because when you get to that point, actually, he's not going to allow that light to go out. He's not going to snuff it out because he's so gentle. But he has this power to protect you and to bring restoration and healing. That if you look at him, he'll be able to shape you what you are tomorrow, and he's gentle, and he's not going to allow that to snuff out. And so what I want to encourage you to do this week is to do what this text says. It says, look at Jesus. What I want you to do is to look at him every day. And I want to give you a very practical exercise of how to do this. You may be doing other things when life hurts, but I want to give you something new to do when life hurts. What I want to invite you to do is to get your mobile phone or your alarm and to set it for 1 o'clock every day. 1 o'clock every day. And you'll probably be able to give that alarm a name. And I want you to give it the name, Look at Jesus. And set that for 7 days to go off at 1 o'clock every day. And when that alarm goes off at 1 o'clock today and tomorrow and the next days, I want you just to take a couple of minutes to remember to look at Jesus. And I want you to do two things when that alarm goes off. Firstly, I want you to think about, what am I looking at? What am I giving my attention to? Because whatever I look at today shapes me for tomorrow. Have a think. Just review your thought patterns. Review your media intake. Reviewing your online activities. And actually, what's that doing to you? Do a quick review. And then secondly, very briefly, then turn your attention to look at Jesus. Look at these Bible verses. Think about this Jesus who's gentle. This Jesus who's not shouting and making a public scene. This Jesus who sees these bruised reeds and he makes sure the break's not permanent. This Jesus who looks at that smouldering wick that looks like life's going to go out and he's not going to allow it. Just turn your attention and see what that does to you every day. Just for a couple of minutes, just stop when that alarm goes off at 1 o'clock. And what it says in verse 4, as you think about that activity, maybe even now you set the alarm. If you don't set the alarm now and you want to do that, you'll forget, I promise you. And then just look at verse 4, what it says about Jesus, the final thing. It says this, he says, he does not falter and he does not lose heart. He does not falter and he does not lose heart. And one of the good reasons to look at Jesus is because he is exactly what we are not. He doesn't lose heart. He doesn't get discouraged and he doesn't give up. And maybe you're like me, you're somebody who can be full of enthusiasm and commitment, and I'm going to set that alarm at 1 o'clock. And tomorrow I'm going to get that to 1 o'clock, and I'm going to think about what I've been looking at, and I'm going to set my eyes, I'm going to focus on Jesus, and I'm going to think about the sort of person he is, because that's going to shape me for tomorrow. And maybe you'll do it for 2 days. And by the time you get to Thursday, you're switching your alarm and you're not looking at it. And you start to lose heart and you just think, oh man, I'm never going to get this sussed. I'm never going to be walking on a higher level in faith and victory. And you get discouraged by failure. Jesus does not falter. He does not lose heart. And he is not discouraged. And do you know why Jesus is like that? Firstly, he looks at the Father. It says in verse 1, he pleases the Father. His attention is on the Father in God's purposes and what he's doing. And the other reason that Jesus is not discouraged, doesn't lose heart, not only because he looks at the Father, but because he looks at the future. This passage in Isaiah and the chapters are all about the future. And actually, Jesus knows what's coming. He knows the victory that's coming. He knows the rescue that's coming. He knows how God's working his plans out for you and me in Oswestry, in the UK, across whole planet Earth. And he can see those things now and he can see them in the future. And because he can see that, he doesn't lose heart and he doesn't get discouraged. And so let's lean and look towards the one who doesn't lose heart, who doesn't get discouraged. Because what we look at today shapes us for tomorrow. And maybe you want to do that. I encourage you every day at 1 o'clock. Just look at these verses from Isaiah 42 and just picture this image of Jesus. Picture that bruised reed that he's not going to allow to break. Picture that wick and it's about to go out. It's nearly at the end. But Jesus is so gentle. And Jesus is saying, I'm not going to let it finish. That's what he says about me. And what it says about you. And as we think about that, we're just going to listen to another song and just let the words wash over you and maybe just reflect for a couple of minutes on what Jesus is saying to you and how you might be able to respond to him.
Hope be my when the world has fallen quiet, you stand beside me. Give me a song in the night, and Jesus, I need you every moment. I need find the weak and contrite heart, shoulder its burdens, and carry it into the light. And Jesus, I need you every moment. I need you, and hear now this grace-brought heart sing out your praise forever. Jesus, I need you every moment. I need you, and hear now this grace-brought heart sing out your praise forever.
It's great being together on a Sunday, and we also meet during the week in Zoom groups that you'd be welcome to be part of. Just get in touch with me, Derek, at hopechurchoswestry.org.uk. You can see the email address on the screen there. If you want to be part of one of our groups, you're really, really welcome. And a chance just to pray together and talk together over online Zoom groups. And there's all sorts of other ways to keep connected with what we're doing. Just search for Hope Church Oswestry on YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Please like us, please share us. That would be great if you're able to do that. If you've got an Instagram account, search for Hope Church Oswestry and you'll see what we're doing there. And Facebook as well. Again, just search for Hope Church Oswestry, like our page and follow what we do. And we're trying to put together all sorts of resources to inspire you and guide you during the week. And Mondays and Wednesdays, we put little snippets of today's talk out for you to share with friends and family, just a couple of minutes each. And we also have just started on a Wednesday night at 6:30 on our Facebook page. We do some live worship for about 15 minutes, and you can submit requests if there's particular songs you want us to do. And then Thursday, I hope you're enjoying the 5 minutes of hope from Emma this week and Joe the previous week. And there'll be another one from Ben this Thursday. And that's released on our YouTube channel, so just keep an eye on all that sort of stuff so you can get supported and encouraged and inspired on our social media channels.
Children and young people are a big part of the life of Hope Church, and that hasn't stopped while we've been in lockdown. If you've been on our Facebook page, you will have seen each week children have been joining in with our weekly art competition from their homes, expressing their God-given creativity and sharing it for all of us to enjoy. But that's not all they've been up to over the last few weeks. Lots of families have signed up to receive an email resource pack of videos and accompanying activity ideas to do as a family. These resources help the children to learn about a different Bible story or theme each week in a way that is interesting to them. There are videos for preschoolers, for kids, and for preteens too. So there's something to suit all ages. The resources are created by Orange, which is an organisation that believes when parents and churches work together to support children, it can have a really big impact. If you'd like to find out more about these resources, you can email cat@hopechurchoswestry.org.uk. The final thing I'd like to tell you about is our kids and youth Zoom groups. We currently have 4 kids Zoom calls that run each week and 1 youth Zoom call for our 14 to 18s who'd usually come to TNT. These have been a great place for children to chat about the videos from the Orange resources, to pray together, and as you can see from the pictures, have lots of fun together too.
Okay.
I'd just like to say a huge thank you to all of the children and the young people who've participated in our art competition and been involved in our Zoom calls. You have been a real blessing. And I just wanted to ask the rest of the church if you can keep on praying for the children and the young people at the moment. I had a phone call with a child from Fun Club this week who told me that he had been finding the current situation really stressful, and he was really missing being able to go and just play freely outside. So keep on praying for the children and youth. And of course, if you know children who'd like to be involved in one of our Zoom groups, or you need more information on some of the resources we've shared, please do get in touch.
Wasn't that amazing? Such good fun to see what the kids and families have been up to. And everything we do as a church is only possible because of your financial support. We're just supported by local people who are part of our church. And so this is a chance for you to invest in the work that we're doing with kids and families, and the online ministries we do, the other charities we support in Oswestry like Food Bank, and also the work we do in other countries like Uganda and across Asia. And you can give in two ways. You can give online. You can go to our website, hopechurchoswestry.org.uk/give. If you go on there, you can input card details and you can give a one-off donation, or you can set up a regular donation, which is the best way to give. Or you can give by your mobile phone right now. You can just text 785. And if you text that, some money will be taken off your phone bill and donated to Hope Church Oswestry. And if you want to give £20, you can text HCO20 to 785. If you want to give £10, you text HCO10 to 785. If you want to give £30, then do the 20 and then do another 10 text. And that would be really appreciated, and we'll use your money wisely, and we'll use it to invest in all the work that we're doing. And we just thank you for that. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for all your support. And we really, really appreciate that. Okay, so we've got all sorts of things that go on during the week on our social media pages, and just encourage you to connect in with all that. But we've got something new and exciting for this week. And what we want to do for everyone who's part of Hope Church Oswestry and all those who are connected to us, and we're going to set you a challenge for this week. And we're calling it a Learning Lockdown Challenge. And the challenge is simply this. What we want to do is to think about those things that you are learning in this lockdown period. And what we want to do is to post a picture or a video on any of your social media, whether you're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever else is the cool thing of these days. I want you to post a picture or a video of something that you're learning in lockdown. I want you to hashtag us, hashtag Hope Church Oswestry, wherever you post that, and we'll be able to find it. And it may be something practical. You're doing stuff around the house and the garden. I know somebody who's making a bench and a table from scratch. You might want to do that. You may be learning something about kids and homeschooling or baking. Or you may be, it may be more serious than that, and you're really learning a lesson, and you want to just do a 30-second video about what you're learning about life or God or the world, and you might want to post that. You may have took an online course and you're doing learning guitar or piano or something like that. Anything, just post it on your social media, a picture or a video, and hashtag Hope Church Oswestry. And it would be great. I mean, maybe next Sunday we might feature some of those. And but just chance for us to share as a community those things that we're learning, that the funny stuff and the serious stuff. That's your challenge for this week, the Learning Lockdown Challenge. Post something that you're learning on any social media and hashtag Hope Church Oswestry. And I look forward to seeing what you're doing and what's happening.
For Brian and me, lockdown is not all that difficult. We are both introverts and good at keeping our own company. There are always plenty of jobs that we wish we could do if we had more time, and we've been working on these jobs steadily. For Bryony, it's a lot harder, being the social creature that she is, but she too is amazingly good at occupying herself, keeping herself busy with her writing, her colouring, and making endless of phone calls to her friends. This whole period wouldn't have been so bad so far if it wasn't for the heavy thoughts about people in flats and places with no outside to go, those who don't get on so well together, and those who are ill. One of those who were ill was my sister. She became ill just over 4 weeks ago. Helene is a children's nurse looking after very sick children who need technical nursing care in their own homes. She didn't know one of her patients had caught COVID-19. It wasn't long before she had it too. She was quite poorly straight away. She lived by herself on the 5th floor of a very nice flat. She could manage to get drinks, but didn't want to eat and lost loads of weight very fast. There wasn't much of her in the first place. She became increasingly breathless and after 2 weeks was admitted to hospital where she had been for 12 days now. It has been an extremely rough ride for her. She and I are hugely thankful for all the people that have been praying for her. In my mind it was like the army that Elijah saw in 2 Kings 6 when he was in Dothan, an army made of chariots, of horses and fire that God put round the city to protect Elijah and his servants. The prayers have really helped Helene through this. On the Sunday before she was admitted, I had some sense of peace. I believe it was from God that she was going to make it. I texted to my other sister, "We are not going to lose her, are we?" And she texted back, "Amen." Also around that time, Helene had sent me a verse from Philippians that she had read that day. It's a very well-known verse that helped me loads over the years. It's Philippians 4 verse 7. "And the peace of God which transcends all understanding will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." The thing that really struck this time is that God actually guards your thoughts. I know in verse 8 we are positively encouraged to think about good things, but here we are assured God wants to guard your mind, your thoughts. And my, did I need that. It was also the anniversary of my brother's death on April the 3rd, and my mind was going places where it shouldn't be going. And if I wasn't careful, it was going to take over everything. It was just such a relief to be able to thank God for guarding my mind and trusting him to stop my mind going to bad places. It changed the way I prayed for Helene. I wasn't praying so much for her survival, although I still doubted it at times and wondered if it was really from God, what I thought. But I was praying more for God's help for her with her breathing, that people would be kind to her, and especially after she was admitted, that she would know God's peace. It was such a relief for her to have the oxygen, and even with that it was very hard work just to breathe. She also had chloroquine, which didn't suit her at all and made some of the symptoms worse. Thankfully that was stopped after 2 days. And during that time our text messages became more like shorthand messages and emoji, especially hearts and praying hands. And then at last, a few days ago, the oxygen could be reduced. We were able to FaceTime, which was great. And yesterday the oxygen stopped altogether and she's coming out today. I really thank God for that. And I thank God for answering prayer while she was ill, how she felt surrounded and helped by God during the battle.
Okay, so that's next Sunday. We'll begin a brand new message series. It's called Dangerous Prayers. And it's going to get us thinking about how we pray, and maybe not just safe, boring, bland, comfortable prayers, but what about praying dynamic prayers? Prayers that are maybe dangerous, because it's never supposed to be comfortable, is it, following Jesus? And there's going to be lots of resources for that. There's going to be opportunities to give you a Bible reading plan if you want to do that. Our Zoom groups, our home groups, they're going to have materials that they can follow. So that begins next Sunday. So I encourage you to come and be part of that next Sunday at 11 o'clock on our YouTube channel. You'd be really, really welcome. And that's going to be an exciting new series. But that's it for today. Thank you for being part of what we're doing. Have a fantastic week. Don't forget to look to Jesus, 1 o'clock every day, using your mobile phone as an alarm, and our Learning Lockdown Challenge. Get on social media, share what you're doing, and may God bless you, and may you have a fantastic week. Thank you.